and a service come in where they can charge it with a DC current and see what the condition of that pipe is. Maybe have it x-rayed. We're not certain on those, but we are looking at trying different things for our bigger pipes. Our smaller ones, I'm not really that concerned about. Like I say, we can bang those out pretty fast as we see them. We knock them out and it doesn't take as long. And we keep pipes stocked up for those specific culverts for our 12s and 18s, 24s, 36s. Those aren't a big deal. It's when we start getting in our 8s, 10s, and 12s. Those are big projects. There's a lot of water that flows through those pipes. So that's what we're doing a little different for those. That culvert out there on Duford ended up costing Bonner County $717,676.41. The entire amount of that came out of the road and bridge budget. We did not, besides the 100,000 that I got from LTAC, I did get a LRIP grant to help with this project, an emergency grant. So we did get that 100,000. We're very appreciative of that. The rest of that money actually came out of our budget. We did not pull it out of emergency reserves or anything like that. It floated 100% out of the road and bridge budget. That money came from our highway users money, our contract roads, contract miscellaneous. I did have a little bit of unanticipated revenues that I pulled in to float that. And that's where those funds came from. So it wasn't like we went and took money from the emergency fund that we could have, but we didn't. We did it all within our budget. It did cause us, however, to not do some other things, like our striping came in at 164,000. We did about $40,000 worth of striping this year. We cut some of that down too, just so we could get this pipe out. So it did affect some of our other projects, but we had to get it done, so we did it. With that being said, a liner would have cost about $500,000 to do in there. It would have probably saved us 217,000 if we'd have done that sooner than later. We are looking at a culvert just up the road from there. That's been in there 70 years, about the same amount of time this one has. We're looking at doing a liner on that this fall when the water goes down. So that one's the only other one that's kind of got me nervous out there. So we're going to go ahead and push that forward. It should be a lot cheaper than 500,000 because it's not even close to the same size caliber of pipe as this one. I think it's a 6-footer that goes through there. It's not a 12-foot. So I will jump off of that band. Oh, wait, I'm going to answer another question. Beans, I'm talking about Duford, and Mr. Martin sent me so many questions. I will actually answer this part too. He talked about a bridge versus the culvert. Right now, Idaho has what's called the Leading Idaho Local Bridge Program that's going through the state, where just about every government agency, including the state, are going through and applying for these grants to have their bridges replaced. They had about $200 million that got distributed out to actually do these types of projects. Bonner County applied for 5. We received 4 of those actually. So we're getting 4 complete bridge replacements out of that setup. With that being said, it's kind of hard to get a bridge right now because everybody's getting that, right? They're replacing them throughout the entire state. I think there's 176 bridges they're doing in the state right now. For us to just call up and say, hey, you need to stop what you're doing, we need a bridge right now, was pretty much laughable. It wasn't going to happen. Bridges were running about $1 million more than what I spent here. It also would have changed the permitting out there to an actual section 10 permit versus a 404 permit, which is your waterways. Section 10 permits are actual navigable waters, 404 or not. When we look at navigable waters, those are navigable waters year round. We're not talking when the water is raising to where they can get through the pipe, or when it's in low water, they can't get through the pipe because there's not enough water in it. If I would have changed that, it would have probably changed a lot for the property owners around there too. If I'd have put a bridge in that place would have probably ended up being subdivided as well. I'm not saying that's why I didn't put it in. I'm just saying that it's a big possibility that it could end up with a lot more homes out there right on the water with boat access to the river. Right now, you only have boat access when the water's coming up and when the water's going back down. And that's the way it stayed. We put it back the exact same way. The pipe that was in it was a 12-foot. We put a pipe back in there that is a 12-foot pipe to actually accommodate that. That is one of the main reasons we didn't go with a bridge. We couldn't get one in time. They were not as costly. This pipe will last probably close to another 70 years, which will outlive probably all of us in this room. The part of that, you know, with that being said, a bridge would last a lot longer. You know, they're of course they're going to last a lot longer, their bridges. But if they go through and they line that culvert in 40 years or 30 years, they're going to get quite a bit of life expectancy out of that. It will not be our problem in this room at all. So I think we're going to be okay on that pipe. If it is not, I guess I'll be eating my hat on that one, but I really think we're going to be okay. So I will.
Do you want to have them answer or ask you questions regarding this topic before you go topic to topic? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, you can. If you guys got any questions on it.
And for those of you who came in late, if you don't have the microphone, we won't hear you because there's no amplification in the ceiling.
So yeah, my name is Kevin Moore.
Yep.
Blacktail and Highway 95. And so, yeah, I had some questions coming in, but you just raised many more that luckily you were able to dialogue a little bit on the Dufert thing. And so a couple of things that before I get off on some of my questions, you mentioned LTEC gave you guys $100,000.
Yeah.
And so I talked to a lady from LTEC the other day, as I'm steadily trying to find information to be able to more ask questions. And I don't remember her name right now. I brought the wrong papers with me.
It was Layla Kroll.
Pardon?
Layla Kroll.
Yeah. Anyway, with my memory bank, she related to me that that there was no money that came from LTEC, but that's something I'll have to go back and dialogue with her to find out how we have a discrepancy here at my memory bank.
Yeah,
Because
she knows that.
The reason I asked that is that we're steadily talking about regulations as per IDWR, IDEQs, Corps of Engineers, and LTEC or whatever. So anytime some of these monies come from an outside source, usually means, and this was, I'll have to ask the lady from LTEC again, that you guys have requirements that you have to have be regulated by. And the big one that concerns me or whatever is drainage areas and culvert sizing. And so it's interesting to me to steadily see what's going on. And as I'm trying to dialogue with these other agencies to get a feel of what really went on here, because I think everybody's appreciative that the road is opening again, that happened.
Right.
And I filed a freedom of information with the county, whatever, a week ago, whatever. And part of what I asked on there was some dialogue about drainage areas and culvert sizing, which didn't come up in the response I got back.
Do you have a specific question for him? But I can confirm that we did receive the grant, but do you have a specific question? Because we only have 45 minutes. I want you to ask him a question or I got to let him get back to what he's addressing the community with.
Well, I guess I can try to bring it down to a question, but it's like, hopefully maybe after everybody else gets passed around, I can come back and have some more dialogue. Because yeah, this could go on for too long because you have issues. And one of the things that I will ask then is that, yeah, in the freedom of information, it showed that you initially, or part of your initial was thinking about a bridge, but you couldn't find a precast bridge and all that. Because in IDWR, they have a paragraph in their bylaws about comparative engineering. And if we look at what the railroad bridge is there right now, it's like,
Kevin, I'm going to pull you back to a question. You got to ask him a specific question because we've got 45
So how did
minutes.
you guys determine that it was okay for drainage area and culvert sizing to allow a 12-foot to be there? And it looks like from the schematic that you guys put in two 36-inch pipes up high. And so you guys went through a process of contemplating how you can,
So let me just give you a quick response to that. We went back with a 12-foot culvert because that 12-foot culvert's been there for 70 years. It's been through many flood events in that 70 years, and it's been able to handle every single one of them. When we go into an emergency guideline for a repair and we file that through the state, at that point, we're not looking at permits, anything. We're looking at getting that road back, getting it back open to the public so people can get back in there and use it. We end up having to do all of our permitting after the fact. We're not doing it in the front hand of it because it takes so much time to go through all that permit process when we have an emergency repair. So when we did that declaration through the state of Idaho, it actually gave us the authority to get in there and actually replace that pipe. We went back with the exact same size pipe and the exact same channel is what it came out of. The culvert you referred to, the 36-inch pipes that we had on the side, we actually put a coffer dam in there. It was built with sheet piling all the way around there so that we could dewater the site. However, we had to keep water moving around our site while we were doing it. So those 36-inch pipes we had on both sides of that coffer dam were allowing that water to flow through. So we didn't have the water rising on the inlet end and causing a problem coming out when it starts washing things out because no water's getting through there. The way the dam is right now where they have the water backed up, those 36-inch pipes could keep up with that because we were not in any kind of a storm event. We didn't have anything going on. It was nice. We didn't have any flooding. We didn't have no snowpack in the mountains, anything like that. We were just putting water around our site so we could dewater the site where we were putting that new 12-inch or 12-foot culvert in. We had to go in there, seal that pipe, compact it, build it back up, pull those 36-inch pipes out as we opened up both ends of the sheet pile to get the water back through that 12-foot pipe, and then pull the sides out so that everything would stay settled. We wouldn't have any kind of erosion running out there. It just worked out. That's the way we did that project. I mean, I understand your issues. You've been having the same issue with your pipe for a lot of years, but that's not a part of this conversation. That's something we can talk about in private if you want, or with the commissioners, but I'm not going to be talking about your issue with Blacktail in this meeting.
So I just want to remind us all, Road and Bridge is the biggest department I think that we have in the county, and a lot of people have questions. This is an opportunity to ask questions. Some of our questions, if they're bigger, we should save them for a one-on-one with Road and Bridge, not this particular setting, because we reduced our ability to get around the room as much. Okay. Mr. Martin.
Hi, Jason. Thank you guys for all the work that you did on that. You mentioned a liner, and you mentioned one of them that you're looking at putting a liner in. Will there be an inspection of that pipe before the liner to make sure?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to inspect it. I don't know if you understand what a liner is. Do you? For those that don't, we take another pipe a little bit smaller than the one that's there. We slide it all the way through it, and then we pump grout between the two pipes all the way around it to actually support it for strength. And then that allows you to have another pipe inside there so that we're not having to dig that all up and replace that pipe.
Trisha.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for coming. So in January, at one of the commissioner meetings, you talked about a grant you got for the Spear Lake Cutoff Road to make it safer.
I actually have those all listed on my part for you guys. Are you talking just Spear Lake Curve?
It was like $1 million.
So let me pause you because he's going to get to that, because this was answering questions of what he just talked about. That way we can do it structured, because he has a long list up there.
I do. So I will bounce through and just let you update you guys with this now. So what Road and Bridge is working on right now, we're working on 6 bridge replacement projects. We're working on the East River Bridge. That's a complete replacement. Grouse Creek over Grouse Creek Bridge is a complete replacement. Colburn Culvert over Grouse Creek will be a bridge replacement. Colburn Culvert over Pack River Bridge Rapid Lightning Bridge number 5 and Rapid Lightning Bridge number 4. These are all going to be brand new bridges over the next 3 to 4 years in Bonner County. Those are all 4 of those were done through the Leading Out of the Local Bridge program. The other ones were got off of other grants that are just finally catching up now to be replaced. We're working on the Clear Zone Safety Grant project that just went out to bid. Raz Construction was the one that got the bid. That's for taking out the danger trees on Luby Bay, Pack River, and parts of Lake Shore. There's 491 trees. Raz will be taking all 491 trees out. I was expecting about 195 trees to be brought in on that bid with where the monies were at, but Raz says they can do all of them. So hopefully they can. That'll be great. We're working on the Spirit Lake Cutoff Curve Safety Grant. That is actually on my list here. There's some questions that Martin brought up, but you guys might bring up about condemnation and purchasing property. That's outside of my wheelhouse. That's not something I'm dealing with. That's something that the engineers that were hired to work out there will be dealing with. And it sounds like we're all going to try and purchase the property through there. And it sounds like the landowners are working with us at this time. So I don't want to be talking a lot about that, trying to get that out there in the public and maybe cause issues with this neighbor that we're trying to work with. That would not be good for the county or the people. So we just assume let that kind of ride its course. It's not looking like that's going to go out until 25 or 26 when they're actually doing the work on that road. So that is where that's at. They will be out there doing some drilling here over the next couple of weeks. They've already got permission from the landowners. They're going to be doing drilling out there and looking at the soil sample types and stuff like that to determine what the best compaction rates are and everything for that area when we're building the road. I don't know if that answered all your
Well,
questions.
I wanted to ask, could you put some more speed limit signs on the cutoff road? Because especially closer to 41, people go 60, especially Washingtonians. And it's very frustrating.
It's not just.
She's out there taking pictures of license plates to prove that statement.
I will look into the speed limit signs. We have them set, so the cops can enforce it. I'll look and see if we're still within the legal parameters of where we need to be. If we need additional signs, we will look at that. If we don't, then we won't. Because we don't want to go out there and just jam them all over the place and blow them over with our snow plows and keep having to put them back up for no reason. We can't control their speed. That's up to the sheriff. That's not up to us, but yeah, we can look into that to see if it is signed efficiently.
Do you guys have the machine that you can put up that shows you what speed you're going and what the speed
We
limit
do
is?
not.
You do not. Okay.
No, LTAC is looking actually at purchasing one that we can share throughout the state. They're actually looking at purchasing 6 of them.
Are they really expensive?
I don't know what they cost. I would imagine they're in that probably $7,000 to $8,000 range if I had to guess. I've never actually looked one up, to see what those cost. I know the lighted reader boards are running about 20,000 that we have. So I would imagine they're a little bit spendy. But we can look at borrowing theirs in the future. And I know that the cops sometimes, if we request it, we'll go put one up. So I can look at that too. So we're working on the Trestle Creek Flap Grant. That's still moving at a snail pace. We've been working on that for about 4 years now. We were hoping that was going to be done and the road was going to be paved 2 years ago, but it's looking like that might be next year now for asphalt up there along Trestle Creek up to the Snowmobile turnaround. We're working with Century West on the LED stop sign grant project. We reduced that. I want to say it was 88 stop signs they were looking at doing throughout Bonner County, most of them being out on the state highway. I had issues with that as the state highway maintains their own stop signs. And once I put that LED light in there, then I'm maintaining it. They're not. So we looked at our worst safety hazard areas that we thought that they should be in. And we reduced it down to 21. So that's what we're going for, is 21 lights. There's flashing stop signs. They actually, as the cars approach, they start flashing faster. Most of these are on some of the interior roads. There are a few that are going out on the highways. But we're trying not to do all of them because, one, we can't afford the upkeep on that many lighted signs with our sign budget that we have right now. Yes.
Questions if I can. Dan Willie, first, if you can, I believe your 12-foot pipe on Duford is metal. And if it is, would concrete have been better? And if so, why didn't you put it in? And second is the intersection of Duford and 95. Is there any anticipation of a control there?
That's with ITD, the control light you're talking about, stoplight. They are looking at possibly putting one in there in the future when they come through and do they have a deal where it's going to be over the next 20 years where they're talking about coming up through to the Long Bridge, build that whole system through there with frontage roads, so on and so forth. They have talked about a light. They've talked about doing a interchange with an overpass but that is something that ITD is looking at. As far as the concrete pipe, I couldn't purchase one with our budget on what that would cost. Those concrete box culverts are super, super expensive and they're not readily available as well. That pipe that we put in was $137,000. Just a section of that concrete box would have been over 250. So I mean, that would have been just for a section of it. Yeah, they're quite expensive. I do like them.
7 years from now, we can worry about it.
Yeah, they probably might. They'll probably put a liner in it. I'd imagine once they put a liner in that thing, that the last one was 70 years. If they get another 70 years, we'll then put a liner in it, get another 30 out of it.
Yeah.
I think they're doing pretty good.
All right, Ray Conrad, you're unmuted. You can ask your question.
Hi, my name's Ray Conrad. I live at 2060 East Duford Road in Sagal. And I understand the work's being done on East Duford, but I have to say that the dust on sections of the road is incredibly horrible. It is unrelenting. Sections of the road have been treated. Some have been watered, some have been oiled. The areas where you guys are working are getting watered. But there are sections between Algoma and South Sagal. Nothing's been done for the last week, and the dust clouds are just wafting over the homes. I can't even go outside. It is nasty. So it'd be nice if you could spread some water until you get around to doing the paving, I guess, that's being done.
They're actually
Can you address that, please?
They're actually looking at watering that down, grading it, and then actually treating it with mag. The asphalt was supposed to be coming in there. Well, this week is when they were supposed to start the asphalt. It has now been pushed back to the 21st of September when they're going to be coming in and doing the asphalt. So our foreman actually reached out to me yesterday and he will be coming out there and probably magging that as soon as they're done with chip seal. They should be done with their chip seal program by the end of this week. So you'll probably see mag out there the beginning of next week, if I had to guess.
Okay, so are sections being chip sealed and other sections paved?
No. That entire section is being asphalted from the railroad tracks to Talachi, all 3.5 miles.
Okay, and I understand, but now, and just to clarify, because it's been pushed out till September 21st, they're going to do some treatment on the road to
Yes.
take care of the dust. Okay, and I appreciate that, and I'm sorry I've left some messages, but I'll just be looking for some change because it's really pretty bad. Thank you.
I'm good with that. I get mag messages every day.
Which is a good
Trust me.
segue to why do we use mag?
Yeah. Magnesium chloride. Who asked that? Was that you? What is MAG? It's a dust abatement that we use. It's comes from the Great Salt Lakes where they actually mix it up into a brine solution. And we actually put it down and it grabs moisture out of the air to hold that dust down. We can jump around this thing if you guys want. And just do that because we're gonna run out of time. It's already 8:30 anyways. So if we want to jump onto the MAG program and not worry about all the other stuff we got
You don't
going
have
on
to
here.
worry about any flow of anything. It's more to just be available to the community. So you
Okay.
don't have to worry about, they're not gonna let you leave at 8:45 anyhow. I don't
Yep,
think. That's why I
there's
brought
been
cookies.
people that have asked why MAG. Well, it was kind of interesting. I went through and I was looking up, I was like, all right, that's a good question. Why do we use only MAG and nothing else at this point? And I actually went through and started looking and there's 150 different types of dust abatement that they actually create right now throughout the United States. 7 of those actually are the top 7. I don't know every one of them, so well, I was just trying to look them all up, but there are 7 that are actually ranked the highest throughout the United States, with MAG being number 1, calcium being number 2 throughout the entire United States. I looked it up and the oil-based type products that they have out there, anything petroleum based. When you put those down on our roads, they beat up. They do a nice job. Don't get me wrong. They look beautiful when they put them down. They look like asphalt. But when we come through and they start getting rough and potholed up and people are screaming at us saying it needs graded, we come through there and try and cut that. All it is basically cutting the top of that oil up. When we put the water with it, it beads up. It doesn't penetrate that oil and we can't get it to set back down. It just starts turning into a duff after that. And it causes us a lot of grief. Magnesium chloride doesn't do that. We can get it wet. It'll pull that moisture back into it. We can grade it out, lay it out, take off. The more mag that we put down over the years, the more residual it builds up. So we end up putting less mag and it costs us less to do it. Like this year, I was budgeted 645,000. I think it was for mag. We spent 513,000 on mag this year. That actually reduced quite a bit. That we end up being able to shoot at a 0.17, which is a single shot. And that's 0.17 gallons per square yard versus a 3.4, which would be a double shot. To get us through to the October months. Now we're shooting with a 1.7 and carrying us all the way through to October before we have to grade it again. One of the biggest reasons we started using mag was because of how long it takes us to come back and rebuild that section of road. When you look at this is what Asia was talking about. When you look at a road that's got 100 cars a day traveling 35 miles an hour, you lose about an inch of dust on that road bed a year. I mean, it's just gone from dust. You drive down some of these roads and watch these cars travel and just the clouds of dust rolling off of our roads. If we look at that, it takes us about 19 years, anywhere from 17 to 19 years before we're working on that same 1 mile stretch. Because we have 700 miles of road in the county, we have 3 different districts. Once we break that out, we're doing about 8 miles a year of actual road gravel construction. So when it breaks down, we're looking at that distance. So if we don't do anything to keep our material there with mag or some kind of dust abatement to hold that material there, keep that dust down, by the time we get back to it, we're cleaned down into the base layers and it's a complete rebuild again. So with what we've been doing with the mag, it's actually been holding that material there. By the time we get back to it, we're just having to come through with some 3/4. We're not getting down into the base layers. It's been a bigger bang for our buck. It's actually keeping our investment alive and good. And that's our biggest reasons for using mag. Mag does not like clay type materials. It'll get really muddy and greasy, gets on people's cars. People don't like that when we're putting it down. We try to put the signs out in advance to let people know. District 1 in Sagal, They're putting down 27,000 gallons of mag a day when they're doing it. So it takes them about 3 weeks to go through their process. And they're doing about 10 miles a day. So I mean, they're flat moving when we're doing it. We're trying to get this done and out of the way so we can start our chip seal program. That way we can get things moving and go in that direction, because it takes all 3 districts to do this. And we're treating about 267 miles of mag, of roads right now with mag. And that's one way. It takes 100 cars a day to get us to even consider you for mag. But I would have to go through and look at my stuff. I'm thinking that they're probably all getting close to 100 cars a day right now, the way Bonner County is growing. It's just, can we afford to keep going with it at this point and expanding it out as we pave roads like East Dufert, Clagstone, those type roads that we've been picking off that have had, 800 to 1,000 cars a day on them with nothing. Those roads that we're picking off, we're taking that mag and moving it to these other roads that haven't been magged yet. So we can keep that process moving and going, and hopefully at some point we'll have them all paved, but it probably won't be in my lifetime or yours as well. But we are gonna try. That is our main reason for using mag. Enzymes, go ahead, Monica.
Oh, quick question. First, thank you for everything you do. You're amazing. The whole road department is amazing. One question, you had mentioned paving up to the warming hut. Is that, I heard something, you just said something about,
You talking on Trestle Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna be paving up to the snowmobile parking lot, not the warming hut.
is there that much traffic up there compared to the closer roads into
This was
town?
a grant that was done through the Fish and Game and through the Forest Service, with Bonner County jumping on it with them. So it was kind of their way of protecting the water along there for the bull trout. They wanted to keep the dust and stuff down through there. And we mag that through there, but I don't know if that's one of their favorite things for us to mag right next to a bull trout stream, but they're
Perfect
looking at
answer.
asphalting that.
Good. Okay, that explains that. That's really good. One more question. With all the people moving in and the more taxes being paid and everything, does your budget go up so you can expand this?
Not very much. So as more people come in and build, the county can only take 3%, right? We might have more residents coming in paying tax, but the whole levy goes up. So if your house prices go up, the levy goes up evenly with it. So we're still running fairly flat with our budget. We did get some enhancements this year allowed in there that will be being voted on Monday in front of everybody, which is a good thing, but no, we're not keeping up at all. The county can only pull 3% when you got a growth of roughly, I don't know what it is. I think it's between 12 and 18% coming around here. It's pretty tough to tie those numbers up, right? When we can only grab 3%. If they'd allow us to take a little bit more, we could jam those prices up, but no, it's not really helping my budget. You would think that it would. I've actually sat there and shook my head at that for quite a while, wondering why I can't get more money pulling in. But half my budget comes from the taxes, from the residents around here. The other half isn't. It's coming from like the highway users or HB 312 gas taxes, circuit breakers, things like that. The forced apportionment, that's where a lot of my monies are coming from to make up the other half of my budget. And sometimes those are bigger than what we think they're going to be, and we pull that in as unanticipated, but our budget still runs fairly flat.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, Diane.
Just curious, Clagstone and Bandy is where, I drive a lot, and I've noticed a lot less dust on the trees, where the trees just were brown. Is that all from the mag?
Yeah, the mag actually is keeping the dust down.
That's great.
Yep.
And then if I understood you, the mag is sort of self-leveling, that when you go in, it wet, it just moves backwards.
Well, mag, when we put it down, we get the road pretty wet when we're grading. And we put it down, we wanted that top 2 inches of the material. So what happens is when it dries out, it's grabbing for moisture, right? So all the dew in the mornings and stuff like that, that's where it's pulling that moisture into that road to hold it there. And that's what mag does. I wouldn't say it's moving around, it's just always grabbing for moisture. So it's always working. Where like an oil-based product or petroleum-based product's not, it's shedding the water off the road. It's not grabbing it and holding it into the road. Mag actually grabs moisture and it works very well for that. And that, I don't know if that helps you or not, but that it does. Every time it rains, we can go in there and touch them up if we need to, or hit them with a water truck, grade it up.
And then
and
I
keep
just wanted
moving.
to add whatever it says. Thank you. You guys did a phenomenal job
You're welcome.
in rapidly.
Hey, Tricia, and then we'll let it
Okay,
go
I
back.
just want to ask one more thing. So do you get money from tickets? Because I was looking it up the statute and it looks like the roads get a percentage of every ticket, like a speeding ticket. Do you get money for that?
I have not seen any money for speeding tickets. If it is, it's coming into a fund differently than what I've seen. I have not seen that, no. But I will look into that. Is that,
Well, it's.
if there's money that could actually come to Road and Bridge, I will be all over that, checking
Would you
it
be
out.
considered the highway department, wouldn't you? Or
What's
Aren't
that?
you considered the highway
No,
department? or-
independent highway district would be considered a highway district. We're not a highway district. We're a county road and bridge.
So there's a question that gets asked, and I'll put this to you because I know we're running out of time. People see some roads get built up and others don't get built up, and there is a program by which community
Right.
can do that. Can you explain that? Because that's been a question as we see
Yep.
development. And then Kevin has a question after that.
We call that an LFI. It's a local funded improvement program that the county does. If somebody wants one of their roads to come to the top of the list and it's not at the top of our list, if the neighbors around there want to contribute and pay for all the rock, they want to pay for all the oil, say they want to have a BST done, like Wooded Acres was an example of that. They went through, they paid for all the rock, they paid for all the oil. And then what we do is we come in and do the work. So we went through and actually laid that rock out. We laid the oil out and we BST'd that, but they paid for all the materials to do that job. If people want to do that, the county does look at those type of projects. So, because we've got our list, we've got cars with 800 to 1,000 cars a day. So when somebody calls me up and says, when are you going to come over and pave my road? I'm sick of the dust. We got 400 cars a day. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. If they want to do it, we'll help you out. But we're not just going to drop everything and go pave something like this when we have these other roads that have so much more priority that we have to get onto. So that is an option and people do use it. I mean, Camp Bay was a huge fight with everybody, but they did do the same thing. They paid for everything. We just did the work. That is our contribution to it. They have other ones called an LID. That's a local improvement district. That's more on a taxing district. If you can get all of your neighbors to agree to be taxed for a project, then they can go through that. We've found that not to work very well because there's always one or two neighbors that don't want nothing to do with it. They bought on a gravel road and they want to live on a gravel road. So that doesn't usually work as well. The LFI seems to be the best option for most people.
So luckily, the sister here a minute ago brought up, and I'll see if I can say this right, about you doing a road up to the warming hut and that you work together with the fish and game and such like that. And you mentioned the term brown trout. And so now you opened up for me.
I don't think I mentioned the term brown trout. I said bull trout.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for the correction. Same difference, but to me, I'm not.
They're
a fisherman.
actually two completely different species, but go ahead.
Well, it has to do with the environment. And so that's what I'm trying to get back to. We've been talking a lot about roads or whatever. So environmentally, whatever is what's going on, having regulations for culvert sizing has a big environmental effect or whatever, and trout, whatever is incorporated in that. And so my situation and any of
Gotta
these,
push you
and
to
any
a
of these
question,
culverts or
Kevin.
whatever have an environmental element. That's why IDEQ and IDWR come into play. And so in my situation down there, whatever, we have impounding of water that affects the railroad because we had a derailment a couple miles north of there. And so Bonner County and particularly the county commissioners
Question though, because we're running out of time here.
need to stay on tune, whatever, of worst case scenarios. And so hopefully, I'm hoping that you can steadily address that of staying ahead of worst case scenarios.
All right, do you have a closing statement about something that somebody's asked you that you want to give the communities since we're out of time now, Jason?
You know,
Your department is so huge.
we
about
are,
45
we're,
minutes
we're
is
a big department. We've got 700 miles of road that we're maintaining. I get back to everybody. If somebody leaves me an email or a voicemail, I might not get back to them the same day, but I do get back to them. Sometimes it's at 8, 9 o'clock at night when I'm on the phone getting back to people. But I just want to let you know, we are doing our best with the road department. We've got very good crews. We've got very skilled crews. We put our crews through the LTAC program, through the T2 Center for training. I think that was actually on your agenda there. They go through that and look at, they learn about asphalt, they learn about roadway materials, they learn about mag culvert sizing. They look at a lot of different types of things, chip seal oils, BST oils, the cleaning those values of chips. I mean, there's a lot that goes into training our employees, and we have steps for them. They start out, in the apprentice program, go through an operator 1, operator 2, operator 3. We have a road scholars and a road masters program. And then we also have a program now with the LTAC T2 Center for management. So if the guys want to pursue that, we can take them that direction. But I just want to assure you people that we are doing the best we can. Our crews work very hard. Just this week, they've been averaging between 15 and 16-hour days. Last week, I was seeing them come in close to 17 hours. So, I mean, these guys are busting their humps to get this stuff done for the county. We have a short window in the summertime. Everybody hates construction, but that's our timeline and that's when we're doing it. So I hope that everything that I've been able to help answer here has helped you guys out. We didn't get through a lot of this, but you guys have any more questions, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email and I'll get back to you.
Can you come back and do this again? So we can.
Yeah, we can do it again some other time.
So I
Yep.
want to make sure you hear the big thank you from those people that are in the room and online. We've been watching what Road and Bridge has been doing. We know that it's been a lot of work and you guys are a forward face for Bonner County. So, and I know every time I ask you to speak to the community, you've stepped up to provide information, which is key. So I definitely appreciate it. And it's very palpable in our community that we appreciate Road and Bridge. And you've provided a lot of educational materials that we didn't know. And I will still say that I know to slow down because I'm taking the road that I'm going to complain about with me. So it's my fault. So thank you so much for coming in. We'll think of a time when you can come back. This is the busiest time. So it's a big deal to even come in for 45 minutes. So thank you.
Yep.
There's confections over there.